Well, I'll get started. I'm going to use the microphone because it's better for the recording if I use the microphone. But pretty much the whole purpose behind what I'm going to be talking about is because if you didn't know, I am on the WGA board, and one of the things on the board is an education committee. And I think I might just kill my thing. Talk about the education committee, give you a little bit about what goes into Geo 101, and I really am hoping for feedback from you as well with this, because the WGA wants to create a trainer program, and so I'm looking for a lot of feedback for that, and as part of that, what do you need from WGA's education committee? When I went and looked on the website, a lot of the presentations that are out there are from 2006, 2005. So I'm like, whoa, okay, those are a little outdated, so maybe that's the first place to start. But as I go along here, you can give me more feedback on that. So pretty much, that's my agenda. And pretty much, I created this presentation. Sorry for chopping up, different computers show it differently. But pretty much this is my work. It wasn't anything by the board. I have to give that disclaimer. If you're not familiar with the WGA, is everyone here a member? Pretty much WGA is a free membership. And the whole premise is that we're promoting geocaching in the state of Wisconsin. We organize events. We work with landowners and managers on geocaching policies. We have it right there. It says that we educate the public about geocaching, and we facilitate communication between the members. So education is a big piece right in here. And as part of the WGA, we have what's called, there's several different committees with different things that they're responsible for. And the big one that I'm working on is the education committee. It was created by the bylaws to educate geocachers about responsible use of natural resources, but then the second piece was educating non-geocachers about the sport of geocaching. And so that's the piece that I'm working on. We have goals, and one is to set up a program to accommodate the requests for assistance in speaking with groups. The other piece is creating some official WGA literature or pamphlets to use so that the same information is going out across the state. And there are a couple of pamphlets, and I quite honestly couldn't find them on the website yesterday. I'm like, oh, okay, so this may be why people are always asking for them. So I will have to find out where they are. There's a really nice piece that was created by WGA using photos of geocachers from Wisconsin that I actually have like a black and white version of it that I keep handing out. I think I handed it out once, Ben. There should be a link for the website, but I'm not finding it, Rob. So that might be one thing. The other piece of that is what information do we have out there for education? The committee also is supposed to reach out to other specific groups, promote geocaching. They're in the board, in the committee piece, there was a pamphlet created for working with law enforcement, but I don't know if it ever went anywhere besides the committee. So there's been little movement, things happening, but nothing's gone anywhere. The other piece on this that I'm working on now is creating and maintaining materials and equipment for use in presentations, and this is where I'm hoping to give me some help with. But the big thing to know is it's all volunteers on the committee, and it just takes an appointment. It's just a matter of raising your hand and saying, I'm part of the committee. And every year, the committee members change. So, but I started teaching Geo 101 classes when I had 300 finds. So I've been doing it all along. And a couple of the people from my very first class are still geocachers, which is kind of fun to see where they've gone, where I've been since that time. Because it's something that I like teaching outdoor skills, and I like geocaching, so it was a real natural thing for me to do. And I got to meet a lot of different people. I like the pictures people take of me. That's one of them. I thought that was pretty funny. At the event, I'm talking and holding stuff up. I've spoken at our Park and Rec conference. I did a conference session. I also did a half-day pre-conference workshop for Park and Rec people in conjunction with UW La Crosse. So I had a group of college students who were getting credit as part of my group, which that was a whole interesting group. I also talked specifically and did a workshop for parks staff across the state. And things that seemed real obvious to me, like a little film canister hanging in a tree, they didn't get. It was like, wow, okay, I have to make it really simple for them. But their big thing was, how do we know where the geocaches are in our parks, and so that things were in places where they wanted people to visit. So that was real good feedback for me. I also talked with a group, it was called the Tri-State Tourism Group. And that experience is really neat because it brought in people from Iowa, Illinois, and Wisconsin trying to draw tourists to their area. And when I brought up the map and showed them how many geocaches already existed in their area, they were shocked. And there was one like 200 feet from where I was speaking at the time. And I went and found it before I started talking. So I said, oh, and by the way, if you go out the door and go to the tree, and then the rock, it's under the rock. And they're all like, can we pause? So we literally had a group expedition out to visit the box, the geocache. Thank goodness I checked it because I made sure that it was there and everything looked good. So, but I'm like, you guys only gave me an hour to talk, and I ended up talking for over 2 hours that day because they were having a lot of fun. But it made them aware of how many geocaches there are and how it does draw people to their area, which I think for them that was a really neat tie-in. And I really hope that they would go a little bit further with it yet, and I haven't heard back from them again now. But I've also done, I call them one-on-one stations, and that's when you might be part of a larger event and you sit at a booth. I've done a lot of classes, and then I've done, I do a Girl Scout day camp every year with girls. So different groups have had different needs, and so those are the experiences I try to draw upon. Here's some of those funny pictures people have taken of me talking, indoors, outdoors. I thought they were fun. So you might be teaching Geo 101 in different locations. I was trying to break down the different formats where people might be thrown in as a starting point for creating what people need to teach this. So I broke it down as being, you might be called upon to do a station where literally people are walking by, you're telling them about it, you're handing out a pamphlet. Or you might be doing that, and then there's a field experience portion to it where you're now taking people out to find caches. Presentations, it's really hard to go out and find caches in January under the snow. Or you may have a presentation that involves the field experience. Presentation being like we're doing right now. You're talking to a larger group. Also different audiences, families, children's, teen, adult, different groups. Well, the nice thing about a station is you can reach a large number of people. It's great if you're not comfortable talking in front of large groups because you're going to be doing more one-on-one talking. But then it also means that you need enough people there talking with people to make it work as well. The field experience part of it comes down to you're going to need to have one person in that booth as people come up. You need other people out in the field running that portion of it, so it like adds a whole other layer to what you're doing. The presentation, I'm able to go a lot more in depth when I do the presentation. I have a short version and a long version depending on how long people give me to talk now. You got to be comfortable talking in front of a group though. I know not everybody is. You may have PowerPoint, you may not have PowerPoint. I've been out in the state park where there's no PowerPoint, so you got to keep people's interest. The nice thing about after you give the presentation, they have more information. when you go out and do their field experience, it's a little bit easier because they have a little bit more knowledge. That's just been my experience. But I'm trying to make a list, and if you have ideas and you want to write them down, I want to get them from you later. But what I have so far is that you need some sort of a banner or identification that this is geocaching, Geocaching 101, something. You need to have a presentation or an outline, pamphlets, flyers. People like some sort of temp cache containers, or you're using regular caches. I can go into a whole discussion on that. Demo caches, things that seem real obvious to us are not real obvious to people who are just starting out. So I have an ammo can full of all different kinds of containers that I like to pass around. People can see it. Because when you start talking about accuracy, and it's like they have no reference to what accuracy really means until you pull out that nano and you start talking about 10 feet, and then their eyes get really big. Really, people hide stuff like this? So I like using temp caches with log sheets. I've gone to using stamps now, where people can stamp with rubber stamps, stamping a sheet, so that way they come back and know they found them. It gives you that instant feedback that yes, they're finding them. The nice thing about temp caches is they don't get muddled because they're only out there for your event and then they come back. You can also hide a variety of containers if you so choose, depending on your age level. My suggestion is make them as simple as possible, make them very obvious. I have the plastic, what do you call those? Lock and locks. I have 2 sets of the 3 size lock and locks that I'm using now. Those seem to work the best right there because you show it, people get it. They're not camouflaged. You hide behind everything, figure it out. So it's an instant success thing. You need GPS receivers, and you also need helpers. Depending on the size of your group, depending on the age of your group, you need lots of helpers sometimes. And sometimes those helpers are the people who don't like speaking in front of a group, but they like teaching geocaching. Right? I found the link on the website that has presentations, and this is where I was like, wow, okay, these are really outdated. Maybe we need to do something about that. So I wanted to give you the link. It's under Information Center, where what is out there is out there. But the board wants us to develop a train-the-trainer program. And some of the ideas that we've kicked around, it hasn't gone anywhere yet, is that we have people assisting or co-teaching with someone that's done it before. Some sort of have people take the lead and have somebody there who has experience to help them out, to see how they do before we call them a trainer. So I guess I'm looking for some feedback on that as well. So under my what do you need, the one idea that I had was that the outlines that I'm using, they need to be tweaked because things have changed. I caught that in West Bend. I don't know if everyone else did. Like, whoa, okay, that's not exactly the same anymore. So update those so that they're user-friendly and more current. And we're discussing having a spring train-the-trainer, as in bring people together who'd like to teach or who've been asked to teach somewhere, discuss how we're going to do it, and then actually have a regular Geo 101 class that everyone can be part of and help, just so that everyone can see what goes into it. I want some feedback on that. Because the idea was that we would go a couple places in the state and do that, so that people from different parts of the state would have the opportunity to do it. So from there, everyone would have the same information to work from.